Hey friends, Scott Barber here at Grace Community Church. It's Good Friday, and I hope you're having a great Good Friday. And what a contrast, right? I'm sure you've thought about this. The whole language of it's good. It's a Friday that God died, that Jesus died. He was brutally tortured and killed, and just shamefully put on display to be humiliated and killed. And yet we call it Good Friday. Of course we call it Good Friday, right? Because we know that he accomplished our salvation through his own humiliation, through his death, through going through hell for you and I. There's a reframing that happens there, right? We've reframed that gruesome, horrific day. That skill of reframing, it comes from resilient joy. That ability to see differently circumstances that really suck and are bad and painful. Reframing is an incredibly important skill in resilience, and it's something that the gospel that Jesus gives us. And Paul demonstrates in Philippians here, as we've been walking through the book of Philippians, looking at resilient joy. And today we're looking at chapter 1, verses 15 through 18, and we see this resilient joy at work in Paul reframing, because he looks through the eyes of Jesus. Just like we said earlier, we can see today is Good Friday, even though God died a horrible death in our place on this day 2,000 years ago. So this is what Paul says here. Check this out. Philippians chapter 1:15. He says, "So indeed, some people are preaching Christ from envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I'm put here in prison for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of rivalry, not sincerely, but thinking to afflict me in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in that I rejoice." Okay, so what's going on here? There's people out there, because Paul's in prison, remember? His life is totally being upended, totally changed. He's having to completely readjust because his world's been shut down, just like us in this coronavirus situation. His world's totally been shut down, outside of his control. He's in prison. Now, other people we talked about last time, they were emboldened. Paul's joy is contagious. They're out there sharing the gospel. They're out there continuing the mission. They're advancing in adversity. Well, there are some people who are out there, they're trying to get into Paul's skin. They're trying to push his buttons. They're trying to harm or hurt Paul and his reputation. Out there trying to share the gospel, trying to draw people, if you will, maybe even to themselves. But they're trying to afflict Paul. And Paul's looking at this. And Paul has a chance here. He could react. Oh, they're trying to hurt me. Oh, they're trying to get at me. Oh, they're trying to defame me and hurt my reputation. Right? He could get all personal about this. But what does he do? He rejoices. He rejoices. He doesn't take it personally. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I have become more increasingly irritable in this situation, in the coronavirus quarantine. And I have, my buttons have been a little bit more available. I'm on edge, and I'm more inclined to react to things. And part of that's because I'm not filling my cup with the joy of Jesus. There are times where I'm just trying to do things out of my own strength. And I'm just trying to get through the day and just trying to get to the end of the day. And I've not been looking to Christ. I've not been filling myself with Christ. And I don't see things like Jesus does. So that I can say, today's a Good Friday. I can see the joy in Jesus giving himself in such horrific ways. Paul could see the joy in the fact that people, though they were trying to get at him, they were trying to get at his reputation, they wanted him to take this personally. He's like, I ain't playing that game. I'm not going to play that game. I don't have to take things personally. I don't have to get upset when people are trying to get under my skin. They're trying to push my buttons. I don't have to play the game. I don't have to react. I can see things differently. Resilient joy through Jesus enables us to reframe our situation instead of reacting to it. Did you catch that? Resilient joy, the joy that comes from Jesus, the joy that comes from our eyes being fixed on Jesus, allows us to reframe our situation rather than reacting to it. So we, like Paul, we don't have to play the game where people want to get under our skin. We don't have to be irritable and react. No, we can play get Christ's game and see there's always an opportunity for joy. We can see things differently, see our circumstances, even others trying to attack us or get under our skin, and we can respond with the joy of Jesus. It's Good Friday. We can reframe the death of Jesus and see it's good for us. When we look through the eyes of Jesus, when we look to Jesus, we can reframe our circumstances, we can reframe how we see others reacting to us, and we can respond with joy like Christ. And so that's my hope for us today, friends. As we go forward into this coronavirus season, we're going to become increasingly impatient, anxious, irritable. But you know what? When we look to Jesus, when we're filled with Jesus, we can respond like Jesus. We don't have to react. So let's do that, friends. Let's be filled up. Let's look through the eyes of Jesus and see our circumstances like he does. And let's respond with joy. Blessings out there.